A court in Brazil just issued a major multi-million-dollar ruling against games and loot boxes. This is Joe Newman with your neimo compliance brief. A court in Brazil has ruled in favor of the National Association for Child and Adolescent Defense Centers, or ANCED, which argued that loot box systems in the video games industry exposed young players to predatory in-game reward systems. The verdict here was about $58.4 million in US currency in collective moral damages against a number of prominent video game publishers. Now, the legal basis of this suit here was not actually the ECA Digital, which is the new law that went into effect this past March. That was the law that explicitly codified the ban on paid loot boxes. Rather, these were older laws like the 1990 Child and Adolescent Statute, or ECA, as well as the Federal Constitution or the Consumer Protection Code. Riot, one of the defendants in this case, actually tried to argue that the existence of the new law meant that loot boxes weren't prohibited before, but the judge disagreed with that. So this case is important for two reasons. First, there's the penalty. So affected companies must, within 90 days, include explicit warnings around loot boxes, offer refunds, disclose loot box odds, and importantly, implement a highly reliable age verification mechanism that blocks access to minors, so they can't buy loot boxes. The other reason that this case is important is because it wasn't actually brought by a regulator. The ANCD is just a regular public interest group. So even though the ANPD, which is the government entity that's responsible for enforcing the ECA Digital, hasn't yet brought a case, that doesn't mean that other groups like private plaintiffs or public interest groups can't bring actions to enforce these rules. If you are a game operator in Brazil and your game has paid loot boxes, the best way to mitigate your risk right now is to implement age verification at that feature level, which means that adults who prove their age can continue to purchase loot boxes, which preserves revenue in the region, while these technologies block access to underage users. That's your neimo compliance brief for today. Follow KID on LinkedIn so the next one finds you the moment the rules change, and use the link in the comments for a free assessment using neimo right inside your AI tools.